How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. It's been a while. I've been trying to talk to you for a while. You're a very busy man.
I know it's really been crazy. With I have four companies that I run. So and
Absolutely, yeah.
so every single one of them, I'm either a founder or a co-founder, and you'll learn in this conversation that we're up to quite a bit. But thank you for the invite, man. This is great.
No, it's my pleasure. I always wanted to talk to you, and I think this week is the best week to do it. I think you have a
Yeah,
lot to bring to the table, so I want to hear what you have to offer. I believe people want to hear from you as well.
great,
So thank you for accepting my invitation. You are actually my third interview this week, third and
great.
last, I believe. And I think it's a topic that is very dear to me. It's something that I really have passion about, and I would love to have all your insights on it. So we can
Sure.
start straight away if you're ready for it. We can just crack on.
Yeah. So my name is Neil Huber. So I have various projects going on right now. I originally started in New York City at Hospital for Special Surgery. That's where I started my MRI career. And from there, I ventured off into, radiology education, specifically MRI, CT, and mammography. So I founded Pulse Radiology Education in 2016 with the intent to essentially put the didactic education and the clinical together in one component, sort of packaged, and then be able to offer it to scale. So that was started in 2016. Since then, we've educated north of 2,500 radiologic technologists in the U.S. We have a 96% passing rate on the first attempt,
Oh, that's
100%
awesome.
on the second, and zero. No one has ever needed a third. So it's something that we're really proud of there. In October of 2022, I actually was, Pulse Radiology Education was acquired by another bigger learning platform called Etc. And they have several verticals. So they have human healthcare, they have, professional, but, probably somewhere along 12 to 13 verticals. So now radiology is one within there. So I hold a position there. I oversee their healthcare operations. So I'm senior vice president of healthcare operations for Etc. And then at the same time, I'm also a co-founder of Alpha RT, which is a remote MRI scanning company. We're currently, we'll kind of get into that, I'm sure, in the
Absolutely. I
conversation.
think that's the main topic for today, I would say.
For sure. And then on the other side, I'm founder and CEO of Pulse Radiology Institute. It's one of the first online colleges for MRI, currently ARMRID accredited, and we're pursuing a online accreditation right now. So
Awesome. I think that's
both.
that's the key for it, I would say.
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
so about the MRI Safety Week, how do you feel about it? What have you been doing during this week? What are you up to? And have you seen any interesting posts or groups or anything that's actually sparking your mind during this week, or what you think is going on at the moment with MRI safety?
No, for sure. I always said that MRI safety is such an amazing thing, MRI Safety Week specifically. It just goes to show you how passionate we all are about MRI and, putting the patient first and making sure that every patient gets scanned, safely. There are so many folks out there that, really are, strong ambassadors or pioneers in MRI safety. Proud to call a lot of them my friends. And, for, this week, I've been seeing a lot of good things. Your company doing some awesome stuff with these podcasts. ASRT has been doing some awesome stuff. Then there are a couple other MRI safety experts out there that are having and holding some webinars. So truly a testament to the whole entire field, every MRI tech out there. We all know that we're the gatekeeper for the patient safety. So it's really cool.
Building on that, what do you think is the caveat? Where are we failing in order to improve? I had actually the first interview that we did was with Doug Boyd, and he feels like MRI safety is actually getting worse since the
Oh,
Columbining incident. He believes it's getting worse since then. I
yeah.
believe we have way more awareness nowadays. We have more companies coming out. We have new people. We have people doing posts every day about it, even if it's not an MRI safety week. But we still feel that more and more incidents are coming about because there's more people with implants, there's less control about those same implants. Remote scanning is coming into the game. Everyone is freaking out with it. So,
Yep.
what do you think is the stop point for it? Where can we improve more than what we're actually doing? Because there's courses everywhere, there's lectures, there's webinars, there's everything. Is there anything you believe that we're missing?
First of all, Doug is a great friend of mine too, and I think he does an amazing job, just in the MRI community. In terms of where I think we need a little bit more work is definitely, I think, us as a group, MRI techs, across the U.S., in the U.K., across the world, we all do understand MRI safety. I think I don't want to say the ball gets dropped, but we could do a little bit better at training the ambient staff, right? So. I think even like the front desk folks, all them, they understand MRI safety, but those that are outside of the radiology center that come within, right? So like the anesthesiologists, it's MRI safety week was basically created around one big significant accident, that involved, anesthesia, exam. So I think that educating outside of the radiology department, outside of the hospital in general, fires, FD, and the firefighters really need to know, MRI safety. Janitors, we hear these stories all the time. Our colleagues out there in the field, they post pictures all the time. It's just people forget, and we can put signage up constantly, but sometimes people just won't see it. They'll see the same sign every day and forget that they're even staring at it, right? So it's really, I lean on the partners, the folks that are out there, sort of pioneering and taking the bull by the horns on the MRI safety, that there are some things that need to be done, and I think it really is outside of the radiology department.
I agree with you 100%. That's actually one of the focus of our company is to train the ancillary staff. So let's say our RDAs, our cleaners, admin staff, as you were saying, there's something that we actually focusing on. So we're developing a VR tool that we can train those people. So they have an immersive kind of feeling of what it is to be inside an MRI, and if this happens in this situation, what do I do? So that's one of the main focus that we have. And also I believe it comes from the students as well, from the students up. So that's another approach that we have. We're trying to approach universities. But I agree with you. I think it's more about the staff out of the radiology department than actually ourselves, because we are very focused on what we're doing and we have all of these trainings and everything else. But this brings me exactly to one of the points that we were supposed to talk today, which is the MRI Tech Aid program that you guys developed in US. And I would love to hear about it, if you can tell me everything about it, because I think it's very interesting and we could bring it to the UK eventually. So just go on, just tell me what it is and how it works.
Yeah, for sure. So, I guess we can start sort of pre-COVID, right? When, MRI tech aides were always always a position. It was just never really, I guess you can say, permanent. It was sort of just something to call someone that was helping, in the MRI department, right? It could be a transporter, it could be, a front desk worker. But what we've been doing at Alpha RT is really solidifying it as a standalone actual position that has, robust education behind it and comprehensive, clinical training. Obviously focused around the big MRI safety, right? So with remote scanning coming in, we're now seeing ourselves where the techs are now remote, who's going to be the on-site practitioner, right? So Alpha RT was founded in 2020, and we took the first 2 years to really build out the bedrock and the foundation for remote scanning. Sometimes, when a technology comes about, and it's going to happen today, it's going to happen in 10 years, 100 years, technology is just going to continue to evolve. AI, for example, you need to build the safety precautions, the safeguards around it before you start utilizing it, right? And we're even seeing that with OpenAI today, right? They're trying to figure out safeguards around AI. You can use AI, go on ChatGPT and type in anything you want, right? There should be some safeguards around it, and the same goes for remote scanning. So Alpha RT takes it very, very seriously in terms of the on-site practitioner role. So in early 2021, we put together the first curriculum for what an MRI tech aide should understand and be taught, right? And, primary is MRI safety, full-on focused course. It's not a 1-hour course, not a 2-hour course. It's a pretty robust course.
I've seen the website, and you have everything written down there. It's perfectly well explained. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's MRI safety, but there's also patient communication. There's how do we address claustrophobia patients, right? You can't just take an MRI tech aide and just teach them MRI safety. Like, yes, we get it. MRI safety is the centerpiece, but there's also the ambient problems that techs deal with on a day-to-day basis, right? Contrast injections, contrast reactions, patients that are claustrophobic, like I just said, patients that, are just troublesome, moving patients, right? So all of that is found within that first module of the course, and how to triage.
Sorry to interrupt you. You do that course online, fully online.
Right. So it's sort of it's a hybrid course, right? Okay. So the content is delivered through an education platform. And then at the end, it's paired with clinical requirements. So those techs have to go to an actual site, spend X amount of time, and complete X amount of requirements.
And from what I saw, they are level 2 actually certified.
Yep. Level 2 personnel safety trained, every single one of them. In terms of statistics, it's a very new, I guess you can say, position that we're putting out there. We have about 55 to 60 across the U.S. currently right now.
Okay.
That are actually certified.
So from what I saw on your website as well, you talk about bifurcation of a profession that we have nowadays. We are radiographers that do all of that, plus the scanning side of it and the bureaucratic part. And I saw on your website, basically, you're trying to divide that profession into 2 professions, and we can just decide, okay, I want to be someone that deals with the patient every day. I like patient contact, so let me do that. Or I'm actually more of a tech person. I like more computers. I like more technology, so I'll do the other side of it. How do you feel that technicians of today will adapt to that situation? Because this is nice, and it's very interesting the way you guys separating it, but it's nice for new technicians, new radiographers, new people coming into the space, because they can decide which branch of the tree they're going to take. But for example, for us that are working for a few years already on MR, for example, I have 12 years, people might have 25, 30 years. How can they adapt to it? Because one of the pushbacks that I have here in UK, we have kind of a conservative mentality in terms of new things. And one of the pushbacks is exactly that. I like to contact with my patient on a day-to-day basis and deal with them, speak to them. I'm going to lose that if I'm scanning at home. So one of the companies that I spoke to in Germany, what they do is they do a rotational kind of thing. So instead of doing what you do, for example, this week I work from home, next week I'm positioning the patients. We're still radiographers. How do you envision that for the future? What's your approach?
Yeah. And, remote scanning right now is sort of enigma out there, right? Nobody knows. Everyone has all these questions. And I think, let's just sort of start with the staffing crisis that's going on at MRI. There are constantly MRI scanners being put out. Doctors are ordering more MRIs per day, per year. So it's going to only grow. A lot of MRI techs are scared they're going to lose their job, or they're going to be replaced by, AI or something. Never the case. I feel that when you're bifurcating the tech role, right? When I'm a tech, you're a tech. When you're scanning, are you actually watching the patient the entire time? No.
Exactly.
Half the time, maybe more than half the time, is on the scan itself, making sure that there's no motion, making sure that the parameters are correct, making sure your contrast resolution is correct, right?
We want to see them. Let's be honest as well, most of the time also spent on the phone.
Exactly, right? So triaging with, the radiologist, with the front desk, it's a lot for an MRI tech, right? So being able to bifurcate the tech role now takes you going from 2 eyes on the patient to 4 eyes on a patient. So in theory, it's safer for the patient, right? So we have 2 folks that are now triaging any problems. We have one part of the situation that's solely devoted to the technical piece, and then the other part that's solely divided to patient attention. Now, I don't want to say that and say, oh, there you go, I got them. The tech is not involved with patient care anymore. It's not the case. So what we're doing at Alpha RT is something called a time out, right? So your question is, will I still have patient-to-patient contact? Absolutely. Absolutely. So number one, you're still going to be able to communicate with the patient on the table from a remote scanner. Okay.
Right. So you have you have that technology.
Correct. That's one resource that's available. The other is you're going to do a timeout. It's not, the MRI tech aid is only available, or their job or their standard of practice only goes to the room. At the end of the day, the remote scanner, or the VRT, virtual radiologic technologist, has the final say on if that patient goes in the room. So what we're doing now is the MRI tech aid brings the patient in after doing their screen. So they get screened once at the front desk, screened twice before they go into zone 3. And before they go into zone 4, the MRI tech aid, the virtual VRT technologist, and the patient go on a tablet, and the VRT is able to talk to the patient and the MRI tech aid before
That's awesome,
going.
Neil. That's awesome for one reason. I didn't know you're doing that, and I spoke to Doug about it, and I told him that that would be the best way to do it. It's to basically virtually, I can ask the patient the questions. I can do the safety questionnaire with the patient anyways, and you're already doing it, which is awesome, because I think that's the way to go, because you maintain that communication with your patient before, during, and after the scan, and I think that's the key element for it.
Exactly. So our goal at Alpha RT is to ensure that a patient can go into a scanner, have a safer outcome, a better diagnostic outcome, and not know that they're being scanned remotely.
Exactly. Smooth operation, as they say.
There should be no change. Our patients should feel no less attended to. They should feel no less quality. In fact, what we feel is the quality now is taking the next step, because we're able to utilize this technology in a safe and effective way.
That would be my next question to you. What is the feedback that you're getting from your patients? What is the feedback you're getting from your techs as well, and from your radiologists? The three groups that I worry about is the consultant that refers the patient, the tech that is doing the scan, the tech aid, and the patient. Those four groups, what is the feedback that you're getting from the operation that you're running for a while now?
Yeah, so we've run some, anonymous patient surveys, and so far things have come back very, very well. And we didn't change any surveys, right? The survey stayed the same, because if we change a survey, now we're sort of targeting it towards remote scanning. We wanted to act as if there is no remote scanning, right? So, was the patient comfortable? Was the patient communicated with? Was the patient, did they have a blanket? Did they have elbow pads and all these buffers to ensure no burns? And we're getting astounding, results here, positive results. So that's the patient side, which is obviously the most important, which is why we're talking about it first. Secondly, which I think is more impressive, is that our clients, we've done some so at Alpha RT, we have analytics for everything, and we've brought down several magnets from around a 4 to 5% recall rate to 0%.
I saw that on your website too. Yeah, that's awesome.
So we've scanned over 5,000 MRIs. We're connected to about 15 MRI units across the U.S., and we're sort of anticipating somewhere within the 100 by early to mid Q2 of 2024.
Perfect. That sounds exponential growth.
And you know what it is? I'm sorry, Sam.
No problem.
I also want to just sort of address the MRI tech itself, right? So, we have gone through leaps and bounds, right? And there's always this, question of button pusher, expert tech, right? So not everyone can be an expert tech. Not everyone can truly scan remotely. So we're sort of picking the upper echelon of the technologists. We're now bringing them to a centralized hub. Okay, they're not scanning from home. Okay, we take PHI very seriously. So we're talking, privacy rooms, very intimate settings where PHI cannot be seen from anywhere. And these techs have found sort of a rejuvenated love for what they're doing. They're able to sort of really focus on, the technical piece while still having contact with their patient. It's kind of amazing.
I agree with you, because I know a few radiographers, technicians, they love the technical part of it. They love the physics, they love the image quality and all of that. But then they are not so strong dealing with the patient. And for them, this would be like a kind of a dream job, right? A question that I have and that people often ask me when I speak about remote scanning, and that I actually spoke to Dr. Canal a few times about this because he's also involved in remote scanning and developing something in those terms, is the question of liability. Because your company is like a third-party contractor, right? So there's a hospital or clinic, they contract you guys, and you scan from the hub there you just mentioned. I saw pictures, they look awesome. Where does the liability fall? Is it within the tech that is at home at the hub scanning? Is it with the tech aid? Is it with the hospital that is purchasing your services? Where is it lying, the liability for the scans that you're doing?
Right. It's a great question, Sam. I'm part of a group of folks. We all have our sort of own specialties. Mine's sort of the operations side of Alpha RT. We have contracting, legal side. So I'm probably not best suited to answer that question. So I am going to do the whole parking lot, that question. But, we can definitely surely get back to you on that. Again, we have our own lanes. It serves for a better, trajectory for the company when folks
that's the main pushback that we have, and the main question that I'm asked all the time: where is liability? If a patient crashes, who's responsible? Right. Because at the end of the day, I'm scanning a patient; it's my patient, so it will be my patient from the moment he comes into the door to the moment he goes out. Right. So we need to realize where the liability will fall. But that's fine. If you can give me an answer, a written answer afterwards, I'll just post it with the interview, basically, if that's okay. And we just open the discussion, because I think the main goal here is to open the discussion, make people talk about it, so we can share ideas, brainstorm, and find the best ways to actually do what we want to do, which is scanning patients either home or on site. I think that's the main goal.
Absolutely.
So another thing I want to ask you, when are you coming to UK? When are you coming to Europe? I'm really keen to do something with you in that regard. And
well, if you want, I can hop on a flight to JFK tonight. I'm in New York. I'll come over tonight. I think, we have, like I keep using the word, common words, trajectory. Our trajectory is you don't have to be the first to do it. You have to be the best to do it, right? So what we're doing is we're really focused on the groups that we have contracted with, and we're looking to grow that group. I think we're at a point now where we are starting to see significant scale. So if there are any folks or clients that are interested to kind of learn about, sort of the integral pieces of Alpha RT and how we can help your diagnostic imaging centers or hospital departments effectively use remote scanning, I'd be happy to sort of, triage and schedule calls with folks regarding those. But in terms of when will we be in the UK? When someone calls us.
I think that's the right answer. And I hope this interview that we're doing will spark some interest on that. Because I'll read you a few examples of pushback that I have on this. And I understand them, but I also feel like people are too afraid to face these things. And most of the people that I speak about this, they are afraid of change. And as I said, we are in a very conservative kind of environment here, and it's hard for me to navigate these waters when I'm one of the people that I want to progress. I want to do more and better. So one of the things is, people tell me, and I'm going to read it, they are exaggerating the unproven benefits of remote scanning. So what are your comments about that?
Well, first of all, I would love to see the stats or the analytics behind the results, right? So I think, where's the source? What's the source? I'd love to look at that. And in terms of what we're seeing on our side, I would love to compare it. We don't know where those stats came from, who's doing them. What we know is what we're doing right now, right? So those are the stats that we go by. I think that, our customers right now are extremely thrilled that they were able to essentially see past the worriment or the, what could happen. We're seeing that there is a significant, I guess you can say, resource of clinical operations here with Alpha RT. We're seeing that patients are getting done safely. We're seeing that, recall rates are going down, which essentially, if you look along the line, now they can schedule more patients in a shorter amount of time, right? So who doesn't have a mother that's got to go for an MRI and they have to wait 4 weeks for it? So it's because short staff, it's because of recall rate, all of those things together, they cause delays in scheduling. So, plus now we're offering our clients scan time when they weren't normally having it.
Yes.
So we're talking Sunday scans. We're talking later in the evenings. And, I saw a comment last week that it all comes down to administrative profitability. We can kind of look at it any way we want, but it's really patients need MRIs. And I'm not saying we're not doing a good job. It's just the scanners are going in and there are not enough techs, period. And the only way to solve this is by using the technological resources that we have.
I agree.
Most importantly, using it safely.
Because I'm going to mention it again because I had this conversation with Canal and he said exactly that the most expensive scanner is the one that is closed because nobody's using it because we don't have a radiographer or a technician to actually use it. So I agree with you on that one. And I have another question is, for example, I have another pushback, which is when you do this kind of operations, are the scanners that we often say that we can scan more than one patient at the same time doing remote scanning. And most of the companies that I've been talking to do exactly that. The question they have is, if you don't have a scanner back to back, how are you going to do 2 scans at the same time or 3 scanners at the same time? Where is your attention span going? Because nowadays we all know that our attention span is way more reduced than it was a few years back. We are bombarded with information, and if we're scanning one patient here, what will be the gatekeeper? What will be that factor that will not make me confuse the knee that I'm scanning on this patient, which is the right knee, with the left knee of that scanner, with the foot that I'm doing on the other? You know what I mean? If we have 3 screens and we're scanning 3 patients at the same time, can I focus on that? Can I actually do that as efficiently as 3 different rats?
Yeah, it's a great question, Sam. And, for right now, we're focusing sort of on the 1-to-1, or we're scanning 1-to-1. It's still early. We're not in a rush to go ahead and scale this thing where, we sort of lose track on patient safety, effectiveness, and all that stuff, right? So to answer the question, I always feel like there's a good way of training folks to sort of, when I know you're in England, but in the US, there's NFL football, right? And, we're talking about quarterbacks now, right?
I'm a fan.
They have to be so analytical, and there's so many different resources that you could use to sort of sharpen your mind, right? And when you're talking about the most expert techs, the most elite techs out there, being able to take that talent and sort of focus them and get them even mentally prepared for this, there's plenty of resources out there that are also coming out. So, simulation. I think that there's some simulators out there. I talk to them all the time. I'm very good friends with all of them. I think that if you're able to sort of start and think about like a pilot as well, you're never going to go to school to be a pilot and your first time out flying a plane, there's people in the back. You're going to have to sort of simulate it, right?
Yeah. I speak about this on my presentations and on my website, exactly the same thing, because I believe that's the way to go. We're building a VR simulator exactly for that, so we can train over and over different situations that we can face on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, I agree with you.
And I think that, if you have someone that is sort of, mentally ready to start going from 1-to-1 to 2-to-1, you could have them scan the real patient 1-to-1, and to the side, you can have that VR simulator. So you're sort of practicing your balance, right? You're able to sort of, in your mind, time yourself a little bit better. We're seeing that it's somewhere around an 8% turnover rate that you should have staggered. You should never start 3 or 2 or 1 or 3 or 2 at the same time. There should be 1 starts, 8 minutes, start the second, and so on and so forth.
So
right?
you need some breaks in between. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So I think that, it's still early, Sam. And I think that the focus for us is doing it right, doing it safe, doing it effectively. And that's really what we're focused on right now. And of course, capturing the most talented of MRI techs. So if there are any MRI techs out there that are extremely elite, which I'm sure you're right up there, Sam, I'd love to hear from everyone.
Absolutely. I think there's a few people that will be listening to this and thinking how they can do it. So if you don't mind, just tell us where we can find you, your socials, your website, so people can actually find you, contact you, see Alpha RT, see what you guys doing. I think it's interesting for everyone to know where to go and how to find you.
For sure. So you can email me at Neil, so Neil at alpha rt.us. So that's my email address. And then that's also our website. So alpha-rt.us. And then for those that would rather type in something a little bit more easier, it's remotemriscanning.com as well. So they both get sort of redirected to one site. And I have my information on there. You can see my other partners as well. Yeah, we have this live streaming going on. It's not really live streaming, but live analytical data where we're constantly updating each week how many scans we're doing, and then the effectiveness of those scans, just so everyone can sort of see a live feed. We will be at RSNA this year. We have a really good idea and a really good booth that's planned.
Are you scanning someone from there?
Oh, more to come. But yes, I mean, what we're planning on doing is having sort of dual screens, one showing an Alpha actual headquarters, with simultaneous scanning, obviously de-identified images.
Oh, that's awesome! I'm so sad I can't be there. I would love to see that in person.
Yeah, well, if you're there, I'd love to have you and have you take it for a spin too, if you'd like.
Absolutely. All right, Neil, I think this is all we have planned to speak about. I think it was a very informative conversation. It's refreshing to hear what you're doing, the way you're doing it, that you still have that focus on patient first, which is awesome. Not all companies have that in mind, and they just want to do more and more and more. So I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing. And as I told you before, I'll say it again, I would love to work with you in the future, maybe scan a patient across the pond. I think that would be amazing to write an article as well about it. But
I think
we'll see.
That would be good first,
Absolutely. Sign me in.
You got it. And, Sam, I got to send some appreciation to you too. You're doing, something really amazing here that I think a lot of folks in the MRI, sector really need. And, you're not just in the UK, you're coming to the US, you're sort of doing it globally, which, congrats to you on that.
Thank you.
It's an honor to be on today.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Neil.
You got it.